introducing our panelists. First, we have Brittany Harlan. She recently graduated with her bachelor's degree from Howard in strategic communications and sociology. She is passionate about reframing the education system to promote academic success among our future leaders. In combination with philanthropic efforts within education, she aspires and dedicates the majority of her time to exploring the world. With this, she is currently a part of Teach in Spain with CIEE, where she works both in education and travels. Next, we have Maya Hadley, a Howard University alumna whose academic journey and professional purpose has been shaped by a commitment to global learning and service. At Howard, she pursued international experiences across Oaxaca, Mexico, Murcia, Spain, and Cali, Colombia, deepening her understanding of global communities and affirming her passion for international affairs. Her dedication continued after graduation through a Fulbright in Colombia, where she conducted field research across 8 cities, examining the war on drugs and its impact in Afro-Colombian communities. Next, we have Emmanuel Manny Smalls, a Howard University alumna who graduated in VA in Interdisciplinary Studies, International Affairs with a minor in Spanish. Originally from West Palm Beach, Florida, and of African American and Colombian heritage, his passion for global engagement was shaped by several years living in Cartagena, Colombia, where he supported community service initiatives across Afro-Colombian families in crisis. Outside of academics and service, Manny is an avid long-distance runner and traveler. And finally, we have Ariana Williams, a recent Howard University graduate with dual degrees in Spanish and Interdisciplinary Studies. Her passion for cultural exchange was shaped by studying abroad and internships experiences in Colombia, South Africa, and Chile through the Ralph Bunche International Affairs Center and the Patricia Roberts Harris Fellowship. Now let's get into the slideshows. We'll start off with Maya.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that introduction. So my name is Maya Hadley. I graduated from Howard last year in the class of 2024. And so I'll just talk a little bit about my study abroad experience and now my pursuit of a Master's of Arts in International Relations from Johns Hopkins. So you can go to the next slide. Yeah, so I was a part of the COVID class. So when I came into Howard, our first year was completely remote. So I like to say I was at Howard for all of like 2 years. So sophomore year, I got really involved on campus. I joined, the Bunch Brigade, was really active with the Bunch Center. I got to do a cool internship at the White House, and a lot of these things kind of piqued my interest in international relations. Before that, I definitely thought I was going into like domestic policy. And so did kind of a 180 and decided my junior year to study abroad. You can go to the next slide. So there was a Howard alum named Walter who I met through some of my work with the Bunch Center, who leads a program every summer to Oaxaca, Mexico. And so I got to go with a bunch of Howard students to learn Spanish for the summer. And it was a really great experience, a great introduction to study abroad. All of my family's from the US. No one speaks a second language. And so I was something that I became really passionate about and knew that immersion was kind of the only way that I was going to become fluent. And so this was a great opportunity. It kind of spearheaded my entire junior year going abroad. And so next, I went to Murcia, Spain, and did an immersion program with ISEP. And I really didn't know at the time when I registered for this program, but none of my professors were bilingual. And so I was at no means fluent in Spanish at this point, but was going to class every day for about like 5 to 6 hours, doing topics like literature, geography, and completely Spanish. So a great way to push yourself, to challenge yourself. But it was definitely probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But it was really good because I think I learned how to read, how to write, and then lastly, my spring semester of my junior year. I did a semester abroad in Cali, Colombia, where I felt like at that point I could really understand and read. And so then I really got to practice talking. And what better place to do that than Colombia, especially Cali, where, it has a really large Afro-Colombian population. And so overall, this year really solidified my interest in international relations. And so after that, I applied for a Fulbright Hayes research grant, where I got to travel to 8 different cities in Colombia. I mean, it was a transformative experience in terms of just like getting to live in such drastically different cities and connecting with people. And by this point, I was pretty fluent in Spanish. And so just kind of being able to use those skills in a research capacity, and connecting with communities. I got to do really cool interviews with not only like youth members, but also government officials, really figuring out like what a post um, conflict peace agreement looks like and how do you really build that. And so an amazing experience, and ultimately that kind of solidified my interest in pursuing a master's in international relations. And I was kind of focused on this intersection of development and conflict. So if you go to the next slide, it's just a quick overview of like Johns Hopkins. Actually, you can keep going one more. And so there are all these different programs that SAIS offers, and we can talk about them, throughout this panel if there are more questions on it. But I'm in the Master of Arts in International Relations, and you get to pick a functional focus and a regional. So I kind of made my own up. I'm doing like economics, but also conflict studies. And I focus in the Americas, particularly in Latin America and the Caribbean. If you go to the next slide, it's just pictures. To show some of the cool things that we got to do at SAI, some of the cool people that I've met. And yeah, I mean, as we go on, I can answer more questions if anyone has them on my time so far, but that's pretty much it. Oh, and there's one more slide, I think. Yeah, beautiful. So I guess now I'm currently working at the Organization of American States, in the Department Against Transnational Crime, Organized Crime, which has been cool just to work with all of the foreign delegations, on some of the issues that I learned about while I was studying abroad. So I like to call it a full circle moment. But that's it for me. Thank you all.
That was great, Maya. And now we'll go to Brittany. One
Yes.
moment.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany. I graduated this past spring in 2025, and I graduated with with my degree in strategic communications with a concentration in advertising. And oh, is the presentation? Oh, okay. But I wanted to say it's so funny because I also studied abroad in Cali, Colombia, just like Maya. So that's so nice to see. But now I teach in Spain, so another Spanish-speaking country. So I wanted to tell you all about what you would be doing if you did choose this program. So, teaching in Spain, you'll serve as a language and cultural assistant. Also in Spanish, it's auxiliares de conversación. I'm still working on my Spanish. In a public school in the region of Madrid, the primary responsibility of language and cultural assistance is to help students develop their English language skills. You'll do this by organizing discussions and activities in English that relate to the topic students are learning in their classes. So some key points that I wanted to touch on was you do not need to know Spanish. As you can see, I'm working on my Spanish, but I did say that it is very helpful if you are willing to learn because a lot of students, of course, they speak Spanish. They don't know a lot of English, so it would be helpful if you were willing to learn with them. You will not be responsible for independent supervision. That's a really big thing because I think a lot of people get intimidated because they think that you have to be a teacher or have that skill, but really you're an aid to that teacher. So think of it that way. You're in another point is that you're only expected to work 16 hours a week with Monday or Friday off. I currently have Mondays off. And you also make €1,000 a month, which may not seem like a lot, but the cost of living is different here in Spain. So I want to talk about the CIE program specifically. So if anyone has heard of NowCap, it is literally what I described before, But CIE guarantees placement in Madrid, Spain. Also, another point that I want to touch on, they also there is a fee, but it includes a 4 day stay in a hotel to give you time to find housing and meet people within the program. That's how I met a lot of my friends here, is through the program. Orientation, so they'll help you step by step with a lot of little tasks you have to do when you get here. It can all be overwhelming, so it's really nice to have a program that is, by your side to help you out. And also access to additional help for the entire time you're in Madrid. So they have office hours if you need it at any point for the entire 8 months, no, 9 months that we're here. I also put the links to both programs just in case you are someone who is like don't want to try an option that is cheaper, which is now cap. So yeah, I can go ahead and put that in the chat later on, but let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. So I wanted to put a slide specifically about finding housing because I know that that's also something that a lot of people are concerned about and intimidated by because you do have to find your own housing. But I wanted to say that it will all work out and it's going to be just fine because it worked out for me. What you're seeing on the screen is my apartment. I wanted to throw that in there because I really love it, and it was challenging to get there, but we got there. And that's the whole, point I'm trying to make here. Some points that I wanted to make, that if you do the program, that definitely look for housing accommodations or look for roommates on Facebook beforehand, and housing accommodations will be given to you the first 4 days. So it'll help you out in finding housing with CIE. So moving on to the next slide. I wanted to talk to you all about a little bit about my experience so far in Madrid. I absolutely love Madrid. I've been here for about 2 months now. I have I think 7 months, some 7 more months to go. So in the corner on our left side, my left, I don't know if it's the same, but my left side, I actually got a chance to travel around Spain for the first time. I went to Toledo, and it was really nice. I did a little cheese tasting. That was fun. And as you can see on the right side, the little video, that's Lavapiés. It's a really nice area. It's actually heavily populated with Black people. That's where I get all my hair supplies and things like that. So if you're worried about how you're gonna, do your hair, don't fear because Lavapiés, they got you. Um, and moving on down to the food section, there's a lot of good food here. I personally love a nice like plate with just chicken, rice, salad, and yeah, also good matcha. I had to put that picture in there because it was like the most perfect matcha I've ever seen in my life. Also, the transportation is really, really good. And it's cheap. It's 10 euros a month if you're under 26. And moving on to the last slide. I want to talk a little bit about show a little bit of what we've been doing in school. So, previously we celebrated Halloween. So, one of the biggest differences that I noticed is that Spain, they typically, I feel that they are more on the scarier side when it comes to Halloween. As you can see on the table, it's like guts and eyeballs and stuff like that. I feel like in the United States, it's more like cute, like pumpkins and ghosts. I don't know, maybe not, but yes, I wanted to show a little bit about what we did. We also decorated a room for the kids. In the top left corner, you can see the kids are playing with the puzzle that we cut out and laminated. I also wanted to show the food they gave. It was black spaghetti. It was actually dyed with um, squid ink, and it tasted absolutely horrible, but it was nice that they tried to incorporate Halloween into the food. But that cookie that they gave was actually really good. And oh, we dressed up as Day of the Dead. That was really fun. Those are my other oxes that are with me. So that's another thing. There are other oxes at the school most of the time. Sometimes you may end up alone though, but most of the time you're with other people. I also read books to the children, Go Away Big Green Monster, if anybody remembers that book or knows of that book. And they absolutely loved that book. They love when I read to them in English. So yeah, that's a little bit of about what's going on in school so far. I love it. It's such a good time. The kids are so kind and so nice. They speak nothing but Spanish to me, but it's good because it's helping me learn Spanish because I want to leave here fluent. That's the goal. But yeah, moving on to the next slide. I think I put my email. Yes. Okay. So if you have any questions, if you didn't get a chance to like say your question, feel free to reach out. I'm always here to help. I wish I had someone to like tell me about, Spain when I was, trying to apply. So definitely reach out if you need help because I'm always here. And yeah, thank y'all so much. I'm so excited. This is going to be a good session.
Thank you. Now we're going to jump into Emmanuel's slide.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a good day so far. It's a pleasure to be here. While he's getting the slide ready, I just want to say y'all are in the right place. This is the place to be. The Bunch Brigade, the Bunch Center, everything international affairs. This is it. I promise you. So you're taking the right steps. That's for sure. All right,
Whenever you're
everyone.
ready.
I'm good. I'm good to go. Currently, I'm studying abroad in Ireland at the UCD Michael Smurfit Graduate Business School. So UCD has a partnership with Howard University and their recent graduates. Originally, I wasn't planning to go to grad school, but I think you all know the work environment is not the best right now with this new administration. So why not leave and go explore the world? You know what I mean? So next slide. Real quick, I know I don't want to take up too much time, but just what comes to mind when you think of Ireland? I threw the leprechaun in there because, that's what I was thinking. But if not, we can move on. It's all good. I don't want to take up too much time. But it's
That scene from Sinners. What are you doing?
Beer. All right, yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
that. A lot of that for sure. A lot of that for sure. I had to keep these pictures age appropriate. So, honestly, don't know much about Ireland. What you get from the movies or maybe a little Conor McGregor or something. It's a really beautiful place. And my logic is the people make the place. So like the people here are amazing. I can't stress that enough. Like amazing people here. So welcoming and so nice. So here we got a couple pictures. I'm gonna try to keep this real as possible. The food is not the best, especially we come from seasoned families and backgrounds. So a little left is like they got a lot of potatoes, not the best seasoning. Bring your own packets, cook yourself, you save the money. This is a different college, Trinity College. That's me on our campus. That's me at the bottom presenting a group project. You can kind of tell in this picture, it's a really diverse classroom and I'm a big fan of that. So it's nice to be in a diverse environment. You can go to the next slide. All right, real quickly about the ECD Howard University partnership. I feel like my job is to encourage y'all to look into it at least if you want to apply or well we definitely need more African Americans or Howard representation out here, that's for sure. UCD Michael Smurfit Graduate School, it ranks 82nd globally, so it's pretty prestigious and well renowned. It's based in Ireland, Dublin. The partnership is 50%, so they give out two 50% scholarships. That goes a long way. It definitely is helpful. And there's plenty of other stuff included. If you guys go to their website, you just type in UCD Howard University Scholarship, it'll pull up a website. You can go next slide. All right, real quick. Like I said, two 50% scholarships. These were the dates for this year. I'm assuming it will probably be the same next year. So January 1st it opens. June 30th is the close date, so you get a significant amount of time. And yeah, next slide. And real quickly, how to apply. You like I said, the website will have all these information, but as you apply, you need to email Smurfit Admissions and let them know that you would like to be a candidate for this scholarship. They just need an official transcript from your university. I know it's a little difficult, at least it was for me from Howard. You know how the admissions be. But once you get that, all you need is a professional resume, CV, two letters of recommendation, one academic, and then one work-based, and then two essay questions. Really easy, really smooth. I can't stress it enough. Look, if you don't know what to do, state of limbo, you want to explore, this is a perfect opportunity for you. You got a nice slide. And then real quick, I just want to talk about other opportunities Howard University provides and the Bunch Center provides. Like I said, this is the place to be. You can go next slide. So in 2023, I went to South Africa to study and intern abroad for about 2 months over the summer. I was a Patricia Robert Harris Fellow. Patricia Robert Harris Fellowship is awarded to sophomores and above. Highly recommend that. Look into that. There's a public affairs and an international affairs track. I really hope it's still going on. I know the person that hooked me up with it and got me into it. The director is no longer here. He's getting his master's or PhD at some other school, Mr. Hainsworth. But I'm sure the crew is amazing still there. Yeah, great opportunity, beautiful time. Last summer, I was interning with the United Nations for about 4 months. So I was a UNAS, a UNA USA fellow. That's basically a fellowship where United Nations fellowships are not paid for. So they provide stipends and make it affordable for us. Um, to have the to have the fellow internship. I'm sorry, and it's expensive to live out there, so it's definitely helpful. I was interning for the Education and Outreach Division, the Transatlantic Slave Trade Unit. I think they changed their name because it was getting a little risky, but yeah, these are all great opportunities. Feel free to reach out to me. Miss Rashid's a great source, and yeah, I can't stress it enough. Like this is the time where the world is your oyster, and the International Affairs Bunch Center provides a lot of opportunities you can capitalize on. So thank y'all. I'm pretty sure that's it. Yeah, that's my email. If y'all wanna shoot me an email, like I'll love to hit back and try to give you some pointers. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we're going to jump to Ariel's. Ariel.
Hi everyone. My name is Ariela Williams. Happy to also be here with you all, share some of my experiences. Um, so to start, I'll kind of start from the end to the beginning to the end, so where I am now, a little bit of the middle, what I did at Howard, and then kind of back to where I am today. So I studied Spanish and international relations. I graduated spring 2025. And right now I'm doing Fulbright in Colombia. I'm currently in Barranquilla, Colombia, so this is like the coastal region. And I work with Universidad del Norte, which is one of the universities here. I'll share a little bit more about my Fulbright, but we can go to the next slide. So prior to my Fulbright, here are just some opportunities I got at Howard. I knew when I came to Howard, I wanted to go abroad. This was my first time leaving the US, actually. I also did Cali, Colombia. I guess there's a trend here. Um, my first time going abroad, my sophomore year. And then just like Emmanuel, I also did Patricia Roberts Harris, but I did my internship in Santiago, Chile. That's a picture of me in the Atacama Desert. And then my last experience abroad was in South Africa, my senior year fall. So here are just some pictures of my stay in South Africa, and then I'll kind of work my way back. So I was staying in Stellenbosch. So you can see it's very beautiful there. It's a really cool experience. I had the opportunity to explore, try new things, eat with my hands for the first time in a public setting, and it was normal, and that was really cool. But yeah, we can go to the next slide. So as you can see here, I'm sure all the other people on the panel can attest to this. When you travel abroad, you make a lot of great friends, friends for life. So these are just some of the friends I made while I was in South Africa. The one that appears the most, she's from Brazil, so it's kind of a full circle moment with me being a Colombia now because we'll get to see each other. So that's really nice. So again, here's just the adventurous side of traveling abroad. I tried aerial sports. So that was something that was cool that I had the opportunity to do. Another thing I got to do while in South Africa was photography. I always was interested in it, but with going abroad, I had the opportunity to actually take a course. So even though we're talking about like opportunities abroad after you graduate, it's still cool to see that while maybe, let's say, you're interested in photography during school, but you didn't get the chance, there's still opportunities to explore other personal interests you may have in a different country. So here's some pictures of my first time in Colombia. The one to the left is in Cali. There's this butterfly garden that I loved going to, so I really got to connect with nature. And then to the right is our trip. We went to Palenque, which is one of the first free towns from slavery. So it was a really cool experience on the farm making sancocho, which is like a traditional soup. So now, this is kind of like where I am today. Barranquilla, if you don't know, is very known for Carnaval. So you can see I went on a tour here to the left. I'm actually dancing in Carnaval in February, so that'll be very cool. I'll be in the festival, the parades, all those things. So if you happen to find yourself here, come see me. Another thing that we're required to do, it's called Agenda Cultural, which is basically like this presentation of culture and some aspect at the university once a month. So that's something you might end up doing as a Fulbrighter. Mine happened to be the first time it was called Black Joy Comes in a Line. So I talked about the history of line dancing, how it's a form of empowerment, unity, and I made them all dance. I taught them a black line dance, so that was really cool. And then to the right, you can see one of the photos I have with one of my classes. So as you can see, it's interesting because as we're all young, we kind of all blend in. But it's a cool opportunity to still, of course, have your boundaries and let them know you're assisting because you'll be assisting professors, but also to be able to connect with them more personally. So here are just some more pictures. These pictures I have here are kind of a part of my full circle moment. The picture on the left in the mud is in Cartagena. I actually did that yesterday. We got to go in the mud volcano and basically you flow. It was very interesting and unique experience. But basically, she's one of my friends. She also just graduated from Howard, and we happened to both be in Colombia at the same time. So it's cool to still stay connected with my Howard network. To the right, I have a friend that I met 2 years ago in Cali, and being here again, we had the opportunity to reconnect. And then to the left, we have another friend I've made, which is a professor. So yeah, that's pretty much the main point of all of my experiences so far. Of course, as we go on, if you have more questions, let me know. And yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you to all the panelists. Now I'd like to jump into some of the panel discussion questions. First, we'll start off with you guys travel to a variety of different locations around the world. What were some of your biggest cultural differences you experienced while traveling abroad? And what was one of the most challenging parts of studying abroad?
Yeah, so I can kickstart it. I mean, I think Emmanuel kind of touched on it a little bit, but food is a big one. I mean, going from like I'm from Atlanta, from the South, and then going to like living in Murcia, Spain. I think food was a big adjustment. Also, I'll say, I mean, I talked on it a little bit, but language is also a big one depending on where you study abroad. For example, I was very intentional about picking cities that I'd like never been to, never really heard of, didn't know much about, and knew that there wouldn't be a lot of Americans to speak English to me. But with that came a lot of communication challenges. So I would say those are kind of the two for me. Like,
I also wanted to add to that because I also grew in my like those are some big cultural differences. But something that I didn't know here in Spain is that they like to take a lot of breaks. And so in school, it goes from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and I'm only working 4 hours in the day. But because there is a 45-minute break in the morning, and in the lunchtime, it's a 12:30 to 2:30 2 hour break in between. And so the kids are supposed to go home, have lunch with their families, and then come back to school from 2:30 to 4. Now, if I was a student, I would love that, but because I'm a teacher and I live quite far from my school, it kind of doesn't work out for me to just like go back to home and then come back because it's like, you have to go back and then turn back around to go back to school. So I end up just having to stay at the school. So it kind of feels like I'm there for 7 hours instead of four because of all the breaks. But I'm not working during those breaks and I get other work done, like tutoring work or like, you know, if I want to apply to jobs, I get that done there. So it's not that big of a deal, but I just didn't know that the breaks were a big thing here. So I just wanted to add that.
Would any more panelists like to take the question, or can I move on to the next one?
Yeah, you're
Okay.
okay.
So, what are some tips you have for making the most of your experience, and what is one thing you wish you would have done differently now being abroad and with hindsight?
I'll just say what I wish I would have done differently is started earlier. I mean, I started traveling abroad summer 2023, but if you're a freshman, like you can take a semester abroad, a summer abroad. Just capitalize on that opportunity at Howard. I'm pretty sure there's like financial incentives to do so. So why not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll say, I think for me, I maxed out on study abroad, couldn't do more than what I did. I would if I could. I think I should have done more. I wish I could have done more on like looking for some of the fellowships and scholarship opportunities that Howard has. Like a few of the panelists said, they did like Patricia Harris Roberts. There's like FLAS fellowship. There's just so many, the critical language study from the State Department. Like there's so many funding opportunities to get you abroad as well, that take a lot of the financial burden off. And so I think if I would have done some more of that, I could have gotten abroad more even. And so that's something that I would say, if you're still at Howard, you still have a few more years left, definitely look and work with the Bunch Center to figure out, what are some of those funding opportunities that exist.
Where are some locations around the world that you all would like to travel to?
I can start. I think for me, after going to South Africa the first time and seeing the diversity just within the Southern Cone, I'm really excited to go back and just continue to explore that diversity, especially West, East Africa. I just applied for another program. If you haven't heard of it, it's called PILA, Princeton Latin, or no, Princeton in Africa, but they do have a program in Latin America and Asia, to be able to do that. So definitely Africa, I would really be interested in exploring more of.
I feel like other than North Korea, I'm open to all options and I'm trying to get out there and see the world for sure.
For those studying in South America or in Spain, how has the language barrier been? Could you all elaborate more on that? I'm sure in the chat we have some students that are taking foreign language courses. What advice would you give students on studying, cultural immersion, and navigating the comfort zone that comes with learning a foreign language?
Yeah. So, um, I came here with the intent to learn as much Spanish as possible. And even still, it's been really, really difficult. Even though I came like, with the little bit of Spanish, a certain level of Spanish, I wasn't completely, out the loop when it came to Spanish. But it has been a challenge, but it hasn't been impossible to get around because especially with being in Madrid, a lot more people speak English than opposed to say in Colombia where I was before. I also live with seven Spanish students that I tried my Spanish on every day. So living with them is easier because um when you try it on them and they also speak English, so try with them and you tutor with them and you go into the world and you try it and it's just it'll get better like while you're here. If you really try to learn, getting around will be much, much easier. So I would say there is a language barrier, but it's not impossible to get around with it.
Yeah, I can also take this one. I think that For me, I knew that if I had people who spoke English around me, then I wouldn't force myself to learn the language. And so, like I said, I mean, I chose Murcia, Spain, but I mean, a tiny, tiny city. I don't think I met any Americans there outside of the few who are also doing the study abroad programs. And so it forced me to practice my Spanish. It was very uncomfortable, I will say. Choosing a smaller city, not as much diversity, but I was like forced to listen, communicate, read, write only in Spanish. And so when I got to Colombia, where it was, people who looked like me, a lot more, in my opinion, culturally vibrant, I felt more comfortable speaking. And I think that really is where you get over the hurdle when you just feel like, okay, I don't care if I sound stupid. I'm just gonna try to communicate. And so I guess my advice would be if you truly are intending to live abroad, study abroad, work abroad for language learning, I think you might have to compromise a little bit on where you choose to study or where you choose to do that. So if you're doing Paris, France, that is a city, an international city, a global city. You could run into 10 different languages in a day. Versus if you choose a smaller French city where you know that they're really only going to be local French speakers, it might be more challenging culturally or in other ways, but you will force yourself to be immersed. And so, kind of in the year that I did abroad, I would say, like, I mean, a full 180 in my language skills. And now, even working at like the OAS, it's only Spanish, professional Spanish at that. And I'm still working on that. But I would say just force yourself to get outside of your comfort zone when it comes to language learning. And you'll be amazed at like the
Thank you for your answers. Diving into practical tips, what tips and advice do you all have for applying to the program?
So I would say as far as Fulbright with the English teaching assistant, there are multiple countries you can apply to. So it's very important that wherever you decide to apply, that you're just really familiar with what the requirements are. For example, for Colombia, they want you to have like an intermediate level of Spanish. However, if you have like some type of plan to be able to get to that point by the time of departure, then like don't count yourself out. Definitely start early. Fulbright is definitely has a lot of steps involved. Typically, getting in contact with the Office of Undergraduate Studies with the young grubber is great, not necessarily for help with the application, but more so for her to put the Howard stamp of approval is really important. That way, your application can be flagged. And just try to be authentic to yourself. Just try to speak as much as you can about your experiences and lend that to how that's related to either your travels abroad or you teaching, things that are specifically related to the job itself. And you're welcome to also reach out to me if you have questions or things like that.
Yeah, for my the master's program that I'm in, I didn't mention this, which is such a flaw on my part. But there is also like the direct enrollment that Howard has with Johns Hopkins, their School of Advanced International Studies. And similar to I think the Dublin program, it's like 50% tuition covered. When I applied, there's like a public service fellowship that you can apply for, and that's full tuition. And so that's what I currently use to for grad school. In terms of applying for that, honestly, I think the study abroad experiences that I had in undergrad played a big part in my application. Similar to the Fulbright research grant that I got, they want to know that you're interested in learning about different places, that you've shown that throughout your academic journey. I think it truly is just about how you tell your own personal story. I think it doesn't matter if we're a soccer coach and you taught kids soccer for, majority of your undergrad career. You can tie that into a bigger story and narrative. And I think it's just really figuring out like and being intentional about why you want to go to grad school, why you want to focus in the areas that you want to. And so I will link my email to if anyone has questions around the application. But because it is direct enrollment, you don't actually have to do an essay. It's just your GPA and the letter of recommendation. So.
From my perspective on the UCD Michael Smurfett Scholarship, the tips I would give would be to just sell yourself and tell them why they need you or why they need us. Talk about what you can bring to the classroom and showcase your different insight and perspectives and experiences. Because, like I said, it's very needed. I mean, shoot, I think I'm the only African American I've met since I've been here. So, yeah, we need to get out there. Well, we need to be in these classrooms, that's for sure.
The next question is, how is studying abroad influencing your career trajectory? Where can you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think that's a difficult question for me to think about my future like that. I try to do little pieces at a time, but it only helps you. This puts you at a competitive advantage compared to your peers that you have experience and whether it's working or studying abroad. An employer will see that and they will know that this person is serious. And yeah, it just gives you an advantage.
I would say if you asked me like a year ago, my answer would be drastically different than what it is now. I think there's a lot of things shifting in the area and space of international relations. A lot of programming and organizations have been defunded and removed. Anywhere from US aid to the International Peace Institute. Like, I mean, there's a lot of areas. But I mean, for me, I think the next opportunity that I'm looking for is to be on the ground, working with people and not necessarily in like a research capacity, but more so in like assisting a nonprofit or an NGO, and seeing how the things that I'm learning in class directly translate into real, economic development for, predominantly communities that have been impacted by conflict. So.
Yeah, I also want to add, I'm definitely someone who is not sure what I want to do with my career. But I wanted to touch on why coming to Spain was is really helpful into figuring that out because I think not being in the midst of like in the midst of a career, it helps you figure out what exactly you want to do. I think this is a nice pause, but it's not really a pause, but it feels like a pause in a way. So definitely I'm taking this time to really hone in on who I am, what I want to do with my life and where I want to see myself in 10 years. So I can't answer that question just yet, but let me know after the 9 months is over, I'll get back to you, okay?
Sounds good. What's the difference between studying abroad, let's just say as an undergraduate, and working abroad?
So I could start this one. I think for me, that has definitely been a really big adjustment. When I went abroad the previous times before, it's like, okay, I'm studying abroad, I'm outside, I'm here for a good time, cultural immersion, and all those things still do happen when you're working abroad, except it's a different shift involved. There's a monetary aspect now. There's different things that you would consider a part of adult life that you have to consider as well. Even just making friends. Like for me, I teach English and I'm around the all the students' age. However, there's still a different way in which we interact because now I'm an assistant and not another student studying abroad. So I think that's definitely a big change. It's definitely something to be open to and understand that there's still ways to connect with the community, whether like with me, it's dancing and getting to meet locals that way, or it's just making sure that you're still kind of acknowledging how you're feeling and like understanding it's okay to feel kind of a little out of place at first, but just continuing to look for a community and some belonging.
I definitely agree with that. And I also want to add like the the relief of having no homework to worry about is amazing. And I feel like I have a lot more time overall. But I definitely agree with Ariella about it being challenging to find like our peers because you know you're not in a university where you see peers every single day. So I just say it's challenging, but it's not impossible to find peers.
Transitioning to our teammate, we have an incoming question.
Hello, my name is Shyla Diaz. I'm a freshman political science major from Yonkers, New York, by way of Dominican Republic. And my question for y'all is, hold on, sorry, one second. Um, what motivated you guys to study abroad, firstly?
I can start. For me, I kind of said this, but I didn't have any family, or any real connection to anywhere outside of the US. And so I think my study abroad was more so me like wanting to see, what living outside of kind of my comfort zone, my home would be like. In addition to that, I would say language. For the work that I was wanting to do, language is a really important component of that. And just your ability to connect with people. I mean, people will tell you that like English is, the language for everyone. Everyone speaks English. But I think that especially in the work that I do now, people are always surprised that I'm fluent in Spanish. And I think that it gains, I mean, in a very unprofessional way of saying, I think it gets you a lot of street credit, when you're in some of these spaces where people are like, oh, she speaks another language. Wow. And the bar is so low for Americans, unfortunately. And so, I mean, if you could pick any way to set yourself or your application apart, I would say that language is a big part in that. And so that was kind of the root, I would say, of my choosing to study abroad.
I would say for me, it was kind of revolving around my upbringing. I mean, just traveling around a lot due to my mom or my dad's work, and then even for a brief stint living in Colombia for 3 years when I was in primary school. So it's kind of, I don't want to use this term, but it's kind of like a drug. When you start traveling abroad, it's like, yeah, I like this. And then it's like, I need more of that. I need to get more interactions. And for me, honestly, like the more you interact with people from different cultures or different backgrounds, you learn more about the world. And then in turn, you learn more about yourself. So the world is too big not to want to travel, in my opinion. But I understand it's a risk at the end of the day, to step outside your comfort zone. But knowing that everything is like in stages and temporary, it's it's needed, I guess, for me.
All right. And going to this question that Miss Rasheed dropped in the chat, all of you have studied abroad in undergrad. Do you feel like you would be prepared for where you are now and your programs without those experiences?
I would say for me, no. I definitely feel like all of my experiences served a purpose. Even as to what the other panelists were just talking about, the idea of even being a Black person traveling abroad, the way you're perceived, the different things like that, seeing yourself in different cultural environments and just shaping and reshaping what your values are and how you want to present yourself to the world is really important. Being able to come in contact with locals versus hearing on the news, oh, there's a drug war in Colombia versus saying what are the things that are happening that are leading to these things? Why do we have this skewed perception? So I think it really gave me the opportunity to have more of a wider lens and open approach versus just a very one-sided American type of view. And for me, my goal is to become a foreign diplomat. So in order to be in those spaces and not just kind of feed into propaganda, I really need to just be with the people.
All
Yeah,
right. Oh, sorry. Sorry,
No,
continue.
you're good. Yeah, I'll go ahead and add on to that. I would definitely say no because one in Cali, Colombia, they speak mainly Spanish. It was very rare I've ran into an English speaker, and it was much more difficult to get around. And that's where I learned the bulk of my Spanish. So to be able to bring that to Madrid was really, really good. Especially because it's easier to move around in Madrid than compared to Colombia. So that's just on the Spanish speaking portion. I also uh gained a newfound passion in traveling and seeing the world while I was in Colombia because I had kind of studied abroad a little later in my college career. I studied abroad my junior year, and I couldn't study abroad my senior year. So I was like, wait, I'm not done yet. So I was able to study abroad in my post grad. So yeah, I would just say that definitely gave me a newfound love for traveling. I know here that I want to definitely travel more while I'm in Europe and things like that. So yeah, just wanted to add onto that.
All right. And on the more financial side of study abroad, how did you budget for your time abroad and what methods work best for you guys?
So I will say for this time abroad, it like we mentioned before, the working and the studying is different. As far as the working side, it is a little bit more strenuous. Each year the stipend changes, but let's say my stipend is around 860 USD to cover everything. I try to be really strict for myself. So, for example, my rent is around $300 to $400. And I try to save around $200 every month. It's not always possible, but if you at least have a savings goal, that at least you can pace yourself like, okay, this week I'll try to spend no more than 100 for all of my expenses. And so by doing it that way, I keep myself accountable. And once you start to live in a country, you can fill out what your necessities cost and find ways to cut costs, whether that's with eating out less or, changing what kind of meals you make, different things like that, transportation, taking the bus versus Uber. All those things are really helpful to really breaking down how you spend your money.
Yeah, I will say I think I took a bit of a different approach to the budgeting question. I'm not the best budgeter. I'll start with that. But I will say that I more so looked at like, okay, these are the things that I want to do when I'm abroad. This is how much money it's going to cost me. Now, where can I go find these scholarships and this money so that I can do all the things that I planned that I want to do while I was abroad? And so there are a lot of scholarships internally and externally from Howard that will help pay for your study abroad. Not to mention it's way cheaper than Howard. So even if like you don't get any more study abroad, you're spending less money than you would by going abroad. So in that in itself, I think was a selling point for me. And so then I was like, okay, well, how can I find some external funding? And there's a lot of scholarships. People be surprised like how many of the external scholarships that you can just Google and find can also be applied to helping with your balance and just like extra pocket money because of the reimbursements. So yeah, for me, I would say you can work either way. You can say like, okay, this is the money that I have and this is what how I'm gonna budget it, or you can be like, okay, these are the experiences that I want to have. How am I gonna make sure that I can get this funding to help me live that lifestyle or do those things while I'm abroad? Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I definitely would emphasize save, save, save before you come. So it's a good thing that y'all are here right now, so y'all can start right now if y'all want to do the Teach in Spain program. Um, Although the Teach in Spain program does give you €1,000 a month, which will get you by, but it would always be helpful to have more, right? So, especially when to travel and do all the other things. Something else I will mention, there are ways to make money on the side. I currently tutor every week. So, also another way I make money. I know people that tutor online. I tutor in person, but people tutor online. So, there are ways to make extra money if you didn't save up as much as you wanted. Yeah, so I would say definitely don't be intimidated by the financial aspect because the experience is priceless. And I know like that can be hard to like digest, but trust me, it's a good experience. So yeah.
Thank you all. And now I'd like to open the floor to questions. We're going to have one panelist answer each questions for the sake of time. So if anyone in the audience wants to type a question or raise a hand to ask the question, feel free to. We'll start with Ashari.
Hey guys, it's so nice to virtually see all of your beautiful faces. My question is, are any of you guys interested in pursuing a dual citizenship in any of the countries that you visited, or looking into some countries that are welcoming African Americans back to the motherland?
Very good question. Um, I personally am not, but it's mainly from some of the career opportunities that I'm looking at require a security clearance that you unfortunately cannot have dual citizenship for.
And next we have
Hi, Homa. You're good.
Ioma. Okay, cool. Ioma.
Hi, my name is Ihoma. I'm a sophomore film and TV major, Arabic minor at Howard. And my question to you, I think I already put it in the chat, but how did studying abroad or your post-grad opportunities help reshape your ideas of what success is from an international perspective? I know depending on where you go, they have different ways of like living or lifestyles or things that they prioritize and might prioritize like experiencing life over like studying or like spending so much time on work or like how does those different perspectives influence you and how you want to go out with your life?
I think that's a great question and a very philosophical question. And it definitely makes you readjust your own perception and the way you go about things. In my opinion, the best way to handle it is perceive, interpret, and then just do how you feel is best. There's no right or wrong. That's the moral of the story when you travel abroad. Like, people some think this is the best way of life or this is the best way to do things, and then back in the States it might be the same message, but we're all in this together, so it's all interconnected at the end of the day. So a little bit of both. Don't want to overdo it where you're all constantly pursuing this thought of success or whatever that means, monetary gain or experiences. You want to mix of both. And I just emphasize the personal connections and experiences. And then I feel like that network alone will bring me to like some sort of success, quote unquote.
Thank you.
That was
Yeah.
very profound.
Sorry, can I just add on to that with
Yeah, go
Spain?
ahead.
So I just want to say like Spain has definitely taught me to slow down because I think the US is like you got to do everything, anything and everything so you can be successful, you can get to the top as, quickly as possible. But here slow down, take your time, really be in the present moment. I feel like they're really big on breaks because they want to be with their family and, take some time to talk to their peers, like at lunch, like people sit and talk for an entire hour of, at lunch. So I just think my idea of success has I've only been here for 2 months, but it's already shifting and shifting for the better. And so yeah, I think I'm just focusing on taking life one day at a time rather than like trying to go as fast as I can to get to where I want to go. So just wanted to add that.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the panelists. Um, they have all put their emails down in the chat if you all would like to contact them with any additional questions or concerns. Thank you everyone for your time. Thank you to the panelists. Thank you to Ms. Rashid. Thank you to the Ralph Bunch team. And thank you to the Ralph Bunch Center. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.